Let's do a cylinder. We'll review what we did in class, the cylinder, which basically will become a mug some stage. You can also, cylinders are also a great start for just about anything. You can do tumblers, you can do closed forms, bottles and things like that. But once you get to the cylinder down, that's a great starting point for most of what you're going to be doing, including vases, etc. And even even wider cylinders, you can start doing planners and whatnot. And I think that was one of the requests first night of class, which somebody wanted to do some planners. So if you remember how I like to end up my my wedging in an acorn shape, I usually take it and I've already drawn a little line there with just some slip, or just put some water on my finger, and I figure that's going to be about the middle right there. So what I usually do is the point of the acorn I put down, and this is mostly useful for like large pieces of clay. There's less chance of any air getting trapped in there if you roll it around. And then before I even start the wheel, I kind of conform that lump into the inside of that circle that I've drawn, or if there's a circle already on your wheel head, you want to keep everything within that. Get it as centered as possible. So the second thing that I do, obviously you get a little water on there, I seal the bottom. I seal the clay towards the bat or the wheel head. So in that way, if I'm pushing, it's not going to slide off. Or there's less chance of sliding off. I'm not going to muscle it off of there. It creates that little suction that keeps it there. First move is to basically start getting it centered. You see the little wobble there? I'm going to take a little ridge from that and bring it upwards. And I'm not pulling up, I'm just squeezing in as I go up. And then I take the palm of my hand, I keep this hand steady, and I push the clay into my left hand. This is my left hand here. The clay has nowhere else to go. And here's another thing that I didn't go over in class. That slip and that stuff that collects on your palm, I use that as part of my throwing lube. Okay, so I've still got a little bit of wobble here. I'm going to bring it up one more time. Again, I'm not pulling up, I'm squeezing in as I go upwards. You see that move? I just put that slip back on the mound of clay. Again, I'm pushing down with my right hand, I'm guiding with my left hand. The clay has nowhere else to go. And this is about the only time I ever use like a whole lot of speed, is when I'm centering. And that's good enough for me to throw. There's like very little wobble there. Let me see if I can clear some of that slip off. But I can throw past any of that. If I'm satisfied with this part being centered, I can use that as a guide to start my opening hole. And I'm not going to push my thumbs down in there, because then you'll start wandering. So basically I just start the hole that way. I'll drop a little water in there. And see how I'm using this hand to guide my fingers down there as I'm drilling that hole, so to speak. I go down to where I think it's close to a little under 1/4 of an inch for me. That's because I don't really do a whole lot of trimming on my mugs. I just flatten it out or concave the bottom. And one way you guys can check, we didn't show you this in class, is you take your needle tool Drop it in there. Oh man, that's thin. That's how much I have left at the bottom. So I've got to be very careful with that. I went in a little bit too far. Most of my mugs I do 1 1/4 to 1 1/2 pounds of clay. These are 1 pound increments that I'm demoing with. Alright, there's a couple of ways that you can open up the bottom now. If you pinch from the outside and you use your other hand to guide it, and you bring it straight across, you're starting to establish the floor of your pot. And so basically, you're doing that on the bottom. And the reason you repeat that move back and forth, as Barbara was saying, the reason you repeat that move back and forth on the bottom of the floor is it compresses that floor. Prevents cracks from happening. I'm going to open it up a little bit more. I need some more water in there. I'm now using my middle finger to go across. But at the same time I'm holding everything steady. I've got my elbows on my knees. I brought this camera in fairly close so that you can hopefully see what's going on with this cylinder. Alright, that was about my third pull, but I can actually get some more height off that if I need to, and I think I'm going to. That's because I like to push the clay, this 1 pound piece of clay. It's starting to flare out just a little bit. So this is that collaring move. A lot of people teach the 6 points of contact. 1, 2 on your thumb, 3, 4 on your knuckles here on your index finger, 5, 6 on your middle finger on the outside. If you got water on the outside, if you take a look at the top, it's like really distorted. You just collar it in. Let's do that again. See how distorted that is there? When I come away nice and slow. So now what I've done basically is I've given it that centered conical shape, like that. I'm going to push this just a little bit more, and then I'm going to start shaping it to what I like. See how much height you can get? Alright. So now I've gotten to the stage where I really want to work on the shape a little bit more refined. I usually stop at this point and start clearing away a lot of the slurry that tends to get in my way. It creates little clay boogers on your piece. So I clean off my hands too. So now, it's nice. It's a nice tall cylinder, and it's hard for me to get my hand in there, and I want to get rid of some of the water that's in the bottom. So what I've got is basically a sponge on a stick. I'll give you guys the opportunity to make these in class. It's real easy. Just find any, like the barbecue sticks or a chopstick, and you attach a small sponge to it. Alright, so now I want to shape this a little bit more. And for this one, it's basically like a tankard shape. These metal ribs are nice and handy for cleaning up the throwing lines, shaping. I found one actually in the trash can on our way out on Tuesday night that someone had forgotten to take out of the bag, I think. So I placed it in the community tools area. But in any case, like I said, it's a really nice tool for cleaning off that slip, that slurry, and the throwing lines. I'm going to give this thing just a little bit of a in-turn. So I'm picturing the handle shape right below this little bulge here, this little belly. Okay, you see how I guess I'm running out of space here at the top, so I didn't mean to make it this tall, but in any case, let me adjust the camera real quick. It's probably not going to be very comfortable to drink out of, so that's when it's time to do the chamois or the plastic, or my favorite, which is the inner tube. The reason I like it so much is it really cuts through that slip and really rounds out that lip. Look at all that stuff that I pull off. I like that. And the last step before I pull it off is clean up the bottom a bit. That's that much less trimming that I have to do. Clean that off a little bit more. And then one thing I didn't go over in class was I usually like to put a little bit of a divot here at the bottom so that my wire just goes underneath that piece nice and easy. Before I wire it off, I wipe off my hands, get them nice and dry. Wire it off. Then I let the clay stick to just the fleshy part of my hands and my fingers. I just lift straight up. I don't squeeze in, I just lift straight up. It's sticky. It feels sticky. And I drop it off. Let's do another one really quick. And if you feel like watching one more, but I'll do this one as quickly as possible. I'll do a different shape. Again, before I start the wheel, I get it all nice and centered by eye here. And then I seal it to the bat or the wheel head. First pull up. Create a ridge under here that I'm going to squeeze in. I'm not going to lift up, I'm going to squeeze in as I go upwards. This hand guides, this hand pushes. The clay has nowhere else to go. Slip that I have there I'm going to reuse again. There's a little bit of a wobble. I'm going to go ahead and bring that up one more time. A lot of people, they also call this wheel wedging. I know you're probably tired of wedging, but you're basically working the clay so that it's at a place where it's more manageable. I'm going to start my opening. I'm not going to go all the way down with my thumb. Put a little water in there. I'll guide this downwards with this hand while this hand is braced against the centered piece. So I can do 2 fingers downwards like this until I figure, oh, I'm within a quarter or an inch of the bottom. Sometimes I shear clay like that on the fingertip, which is fine. It's just something that I've learned as a production potter, basically. Next, I'm going to drag my middle finger across the bottom, straight across. And what I'm doing is I'm squeezing here, and I'm bringing my middle finger straight across to create that bottom floor. I go back a couple times, back and forth like this on the bottom to compress that floor of my pot. Here's a good time for you to take a needle, check how deep it is. This time I'm a little bit more conservative. I'm going to make this mug I think a different shape than what I just did. First I'm going to bring it up straight, or as straight as possible. And then I'm going to give it a little bit of curve at the bottom. It's flaring out on me, so I'm going to collar in some more. I really want this part to be exaggerated. And here's my thinking is, if I have a handle on there, the user's knuckle will fit right into that little groove that I'm creating right now. Now I'm at the stage where I really want to shape it better and refine the shape. So I do a little cleanup, both the bat and my hands. So again, I'm going to be using my rib here I like for shaping. And I'll clean this up a little bit more when I trim it. But I've got the basic shape that I want. Get rid of the extra water in there. Get rid of the extra trimming that I don't want to do. Again, you hold it like a pencil. You go straight down, or I'm going just a little bit of an angle to follow that bottom curve until I hit the wheel head for the bat, and I create a little trough right there. Then I take my needle tool, go straight in until I get past that trough. We're good. There's that little gouge that I like to put in for the wire to come straight through as close to the bat as possible. I've got some more cleanup to do. I'm going to shape that just a little bit differently. Not quite so much of a curve. Okay, and we clean up the lip. Another thing that this does is it compresses the lip also. Okay, I drip some water in the bottom there. Get it out. And I'm ready to take this off. Again, I dry my hands. Wear it off. Make sure it's dry. Fleshy part of my hands and my fingers just touches, and then I lift straight up. And the clay sticks to those dry parts.